Feels like a whole production, eh? Okay, we're live.
Kaya mami ay. Aman.
Sorry?
Can I ask everybody to keep their mics on mute? And every time you have a question, you can feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, thanks ladies for joining. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Stacey Slinger. Did I say Stacey? Stacey Slinger, director and founder of Skills Exchange. Just a big warm welcome, not only to our panelists, but our Facebook audience and our Zoom audience as well. Today is super special. We started panel discussions just last year within Skills Exchange, and it was Dr. Adelina's initiative within the Skills Exchange network. And Dr. Adelina is also with us today as part of the panel to commemorate Youth Day and just pay tribute to the role of the youth in liberation of South Africa from the apartheid regime. And this is why we thought really hard and like careful about the theme for Skills Exchange this month. And you know, myself and the working team, we felt so connected to the journey of self-discovery and along with the other Skills Exchange members. And we just would like to acknowledge how unique your self-discovery journey is. And although it is unique, we also experience very similar challenges. And some of the challenges that I thought about specifically related to my self-discovery journey, and you know, possibly something that our audience can relate to as well, is just, you know, the challenges of social media. The pandemic has also created a few challenges for us all, generational trauma, and just general societal expectations and challenges. And so whilst we you know, have this conversation tonight, I also want to just acknowledge that our struggles in 2021 might be different compared to, you know, the struggles of 1976, but we do have one thing in common. We are all seeking some sort of liberation, you know, some sort of freedom. You know, like it might seem a bit insensitive or ignorant for me to say that at 2021, where apartheid was such a huge deal, you know, in 1976 and thereafter in South Africa, but liberation is something that we are all seeking in some way, shape, or form. And so my hope is that this conversation will lead you to unanswered questions that possibly need your attention, a story that, you know, that you might be able to relate to, and also provide you with some sort of clarity that you seek. And with that being said, I would just like to thank our panelists again for coming together to commemorate Youth Day with all of us. Again, this day is so special. I know it's only Wednesday, and today is Monday, but it is special. And sometimes we kind of feel disconnected from why we actually celebrate these holidays, and we just think of it as a public holiday, day of work. And so I think it is important that we actually, you know, take this moment to reflect. And so I'm going to ask Adelina to give us a quick introduction and tell us a little bit more about what this self-discovery means to you.
Thank you so much, Stacey, for having me. I hope everybody can hear me. If you can just maybe nod, that would be nice. Thanks. Thank you so much. So yeah, as Stacey said, I'm Adelina Benjama Gamatham, and I'm here in Cape Town. I've been teaching, I've been in higher education as an educator since 2009. So I started off quite young at the time. I think I was about 23, 24 when I started teaching. So you'd say that I was almost teaching my peers in a sense. So I'm at a point where for example, last year when we started this whole panel discussion for Youth Day, that was my last year as a youth. I was 35 last year. And I said, you know what, I'm turning 36, so I'm no longer part of the youth. And it was also something about me moving into a different sphere, a sphere of life. You know, when people turn 13, when they turn 18, turn to 16, turn 25, then they turn 30, then they turn 35, they put significance to age. And I remember that year, last year, thinking about, you know, what do I want my next 10 years to look like? And so for me, what self-discovery is, it's really embracing just myself, even when I'm not being perfect, even when there's nothing perfect and nothing wonderful about necessarily aging, but there's also something very beautiful about embracing the different, you know, spheres in your life, whether you are married or when you're not married, whether you've got kids or not, whether you're just, you know, yourself, whether you've got a nickname or not, it really doesn't matter. So for me, self-discovery is really about just journeying, you know, going through the journey of life and discovering who you are at every milestone. But it's also about, for me anyway, it's about being self-reflective and doing the spiritual work. And I think for me, that's where I found that when I'm in my stillness, when I'm still, that's when I find myself. And when I'm with others and I'm still, and others speak to me, that's when I also get to discover myself, because they're able to say, you know what, Edelina, I'm able to see this in you. I'm able to see that this is something that you should think about. This is something that you possibly should do. Or maybe this is something that you don't need in your life. And I can take certain things into perspective, take the good and the bad, even within myself, and then, you know, think of a way that I can progress and mold myself. So that's what it is to me. So that's what self-discovery is to me.
Thank you, Adelina. I love that. I think introspection is important, and sometimes it does take, you know, somebody else's opinion or somebody else's view for you to want to take that, you know, step and be more self-aware. Thank you. Angel.
Hi. I am so sorry, my connection is a bit bad. Please just bear with me. I am Angel Mahlombe. I am an English and Communication Science student, and my self-discovery journey has not been a destination, but it's a continuously changing season, and it began with me being self-aware, and I thought that self-discovery ended with finding purpose or a sense of talent, but it was truly a journey of me thinking that I have found, questioning what I have found, and seeking purpose and the reason that I've been placed on earth. So my journey is, I'm still trying to figure things out and basically find my place in the world.
Thanks, Angel. Janine.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Janine. I'm a lecturer at UCT in the Global Citizenship Program. Self-discovery for me, I think, like Angel and Adelina touched on, it's a continuous journey. I think there's no end destination, just sort of pit stops along the way, in whatever stage you're in at the time. And then just, I think, the more conscious or aware you become of yourself and of your connection to, you know, the broader scheme of things, and just embracing your own power and feeling empowered, I think the closer you also get to your own soul's journey and your own soul's path, and, you know, your vision for yourself. Yeah, so I think self-discovery is empowerment, and I think for women particularly, that's quite important. Yeah.
Thanks, Janine. Joy.
Hi everyone, I'm Joy. I'm in Cape Town. I'm originally from KZN, and I'll give you the short version of my bio, which is that my background's in psychology and education and tech. And when I was 22, I started Decome for Youth, a nonprofit organization working with youth. It took me a bit longer to be a non-youth before I left. I think I was 38. And I'm now 41. So I left, handed over the leadership of Ikamba, and then started a new social enterprise, which is working in Lesotho. It's a medicinal cannabis project. And yeah, I'm still involved in education. I'm doing research and writing. And yeah, I think, I mean, just with what COVID has done with the backlogs and the learning losses, I think everyone who works in education just has to keep at it. So yeah, I think my journey of self-discovery, I'm 41 years old, I'm still very much on the journey. What everyone has said before really resonates. I think, yeah, it's really been a process of learning to listen to myself, and being, yeah, it feels like each stage brings more challenges, but in those challenges have been amazing opportunities for me to learn about myself. So yeah, it's often really in the hardest stuff that the gold is. Not always easy to remember that when you're going through the most, but in retrospect, it's always really helpful. And I think right now, I'm really trying to tap into my, you know, my sense of self in connection with what's outside. So my connection to others, present and past. Been fascinated by all the stuff that's been coming up recently around intergenerational trauma and our pain bodies and how we kind of, you know, I'm just fascinated in a lot of that work, and reflecting on how we are just part of each other, you know, and we're part of nature, and we're part of something bigger. And so yeah, just really kind of, I guess, expanding my consciousness to feel those things, which are pretty mind-blowing. And yeah, it really helps to put things in perspective, because, you know, at the same time that we're like totally tiny and insignificant in the universe, we can also, you know, do stuff that's helpful and contribute and be part of all of it. So yeah, that's kind of things that I think about.
Thanks, Joy. I love the fact that you spoke about how challenges bring out growth, and that's gold, you know. I think often we see challenges as often a mistake, or it's too hard, or we don't give ourselves permission to make mistakes. And so I totally agree with you when you say, you know, these challenges bring out the gold. Roseanne, you're on mute.
Okay, I've been talking to myself now for the past second. But that's okay. I'm Roseanne. I'm an energetic and passionate woman that simply loves people, and strive to contribute to the equality of women in all spheres of life. And I do that through my leadership program called Lead to Inspire, aimed at all of these women. I've spent most of my career as a leader and a manager of healthcare facilities in various parts of South Africa, the UK, Dubai, and Ghana. And I must actually say that, especially during my international ventures, I spend a lot of time by myself. That gave me a lot of opportunity to also look at my journey of self-discovery. So if I want to describe self-discovery, I would want to just borrow a line from the Volkswagen advert. I don't know whether you guys know that advert. And it goes, "Who do you think you are?" And if you think of that question, and if you ask that question of yourself, who do you think you are? Then of course it could start that journey of exploring different aspects of your life, digging deep to find true and meaningful purpose of your life. So that really is the essence for me when you start asking that question to yourself. You don't really need, we so often hear that it's always an Advent event or something that triggers somebody to go on a journey of discovering, self-discovering. But sometimes if we just ask these questions, it can also put us on a path of self-discovery. That is me. Thanks, Stacey.
Thanks, Roseanne. So my question to Janine is, how does your journey of self-discovery begin? Like, how does it start? You know, we all have our own unique path, but I'm like, you know, maybe listening to this conversation on Facebook at home, and I'm just thinking there are all these incredible women that are going through the self-discovery journey or have been, and I don't know where to start. Tell us.
I think when you're at that place of asking where does it start, you're already on the journey because you're already being self-reflective and you're already on that sort of path of becoming aware of yourself. And I think for me, it sort of starts from the time you are born, I guess, but it just has different phases. And a lot of the time we are unconscious or not as conscious of it as maybe we should be, or up to a certain age. And, you know, you sort of act out of wounds, you act out of fear, you act out of different experiences maybe that you've had. And it's only through really reflecting on those things and giving yourself time to be alone and to go within, like Roseanne was saying. I think that's where a lot of then the self-discovery takes place. But also I think mine really started very like a few years ago in like a deep way. And then again, during this whole lockdown last year, where it's like you start to ask yourself, so what difference do I actually want to make in the world? You know, and how does that then link to the way I view myself and the way I want to actually you know, be of service to some, I don't know, to love, I think, and to a divine source, or to even like this whole notion of a divine feminine. What does it mean to be in my full feminine power? And I think that means to be in a full consciousness of love for everyone, like Joy was saying, just being connected with every being, with the earth, with just wanting the best for healing for your ancestral traumas and your intergenerational traumas, but also for the generations to come. And that might seem like a big thing, but I mean, we all have our small and big roles to play. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of like a big answer for the question, but I think the more you walk within that realization that you are powerful in yourself and in your feminine power, and what that actually means for you, the more you can actually discover what your soul wants to speak through you. So yeah.
I like that, what your soul wants to seek through you. And Angel, this just makes me think of you, because we've had this conversation so many times. It's like, how do you find your purpose? What do you do? And I know for me personally, I ask myself why quite often. So why do I make the decisions that I make? Why don't I make some of the decisions? And so Angel, while you're going through this and trying to seek your purpose, what are some of the questions that you ask yourself as you navigate your self-discovery journey?
So the biggest question that I've been rolling around with, let me say, is what is my purpose? And I've been trying to basically figure that out, because I mean, I realized that there is no one answer to that, but there's been a lot of evaluating of my skills. So I ask myself questions in terms of, I evaluate what my skills are, what my goals are, my dreams, what are my passions, what are my prayer points. I'm someone that's really big on manifestation, so I write down a lot of things that I write down everything that I'm feeling, everything that I want to accomplish, and I see it as a vision board for my life. So for me, it's not only questions, but writing down things that I feel, and I go according to that day by day.
I realized I wasn't on mute. I'm just gonna unmute myself. So it's questions that Angel asks day by day. That's quite deep as well, because like with myself, when I say that I ask myself why all the time, it's almost like giving yourself permission to think a little bit further than what you're just seeing right in front of you. And so, Roseanne, I have a question for you. What are some of the things that you find that you don't give yourself permission to do enough of? I don't know if I framed that question correctly.
I think I give myself actually nowadays permission to do quite a bit. I think in the days when I was working full time, I really did not really apply a lot of self-care. You know, it was all just about work, and probably that's the message that I would have for people that still juggling a career and a full household, is to really understand that, you know, self-care also means self-love, and it means that you have to take care of yourself. Have some me time, take that walk, read that book, take some time out and just be selfish with your time. So back in my career life, that was something that was very hard for me to do. But nowadays, there's really not much that I don't, you know, allow myself to have. Of course, with the pandemic, that has curbed ourselves a lot, you know, all of us actually. But yeah, nowadays I really, and I also think it is where I am in my life at this moment. I can actually, you know, really do the things that I truly want to do.
What are some of those things that you really want to do?
Like, for example, make some videos, you know, get some of my ex-colleagues and just make some videos. I think that is something so at my age, and if I just think of colleagues or even friends and family, it's like a aha moment, you know, just to sit in with Annalene, for example, and just make some videos. I mean, you know, I just do what I want to do. I join groups such as this, where I'm pretty much probably from another generation, and I just put myself out there, you know, expose myself, learn from your generation, or, you know, the other generations, and really, you know, don't think to myself that I know it all and that I don't have anything to share, or that I can't learn anything from a younger generation. That to me is like, I really quite enjoy it. Just to be part of, for example, a conversation like this, and to get exposure to other people's opinions as well. I don't allow myself to think that, you know, kind of like semi-retired, and now I've just got to be at home and take out the crochet and the knitting needles and so on. You know, I don't allow myself to do those things. I've done in my 30s, so I don't need to do that now. I could still do whatever it is I put my mind to. If I want to go and find a job tomorrow and the job comes, that is what I can do as well, or just carry on with the business like I'm currently doing. And also taking advice from other people, you know, and really applying my mind to what they are saying. Well, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that, and just doing it. Does that answer your question, Stacey?
Yes, no, it does definitely. And it's like Joy and Janine said earlier about we're all connected, and so it's being open to accepting everybody else around you and maybe filtering out some of the information. We don't need the negativity. Um, I wanted to ask Adelina, but now she's frozen because she kept nodding her head, and I wanted to hear her thoughts about what she gives herself permission to do and not to do. Maybe Joy, you can tell us a little bit about what you give yourself permission to do.
I do feel like I've increasingly given myself more permission to do and be more of who I really am. I think, I'm trying to think what sparked it. So I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 25. I was told that I have 2 years left to live. Luckily, they were wrong. And then I just had another bout last year, which luckily was quick, and everything's fine now. But that kind of mortality stuff really makes you think about how you want to spend your time while you're here. And yeah, I think this stuff around permission, to do what you want, it's complicated, right? It's complicated. We're so socialized, especially as women, around what we're meant to be doing and not meant to be doing. And I feel like each year that I'm on this planet, I'm kind of just throwing some of and so I think by the time I'm an old lady, I'm going to be really wild. I think, to go from nice white lady running a youth organization to running like a cannabis company in Lesotho, it's like, I'm just kind of exploring these new parts of myself that have always been there. It's something I've always wanted to do. But when you can kind of surprise yourself with your own audacity of what you're just doing, it's quite thrilling. And I think, also in my life, there's, in the same way with careers, there's ideas about how we're supposed to be working and what we're supposed to be doing career-wise. And then, in terms of roles that we're supposed to play, that the society expects. I think, just letting myself off the hook about a whole lot of the shoulds is very liberating, and it feels like I just want to really ask myself, is this something I really want to do deep inside myself? It's what Janine said, is this what my soul is being called to? Or am I responding out of fear or some kind of unconscious pattern or expectations from everywhere else? It really takes time to kind of figure out which voices are that soul speaking through you and which is all the other noise. So I guess with more time, I'm hoping that I will increasingly let myself to do more of those things.
Great. I actually can't wait to hear more. I always feel like we should meet up after the panel discussion so that I can hear more about your passions and how you lead an authentic life. But there was something that everybody's kind of touched on so far, and that is how our femininity plays a role in our self-discovery journey. And maybe this is the right time to ask Adelina to answer this question. Can you hear me? No.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. That was one question I've been. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you can hear me. Okay, fantastic. So that question has been one of the questions that kind of dominates the discussion, especially, in my culture, where, I came to South Africa when I was 5. I was born in Mozambique, but I'm Zambian. And so I have all these hybrid cultures that I kind of that I've adopted and that make up who I am. So still single, and then I had to get sort of like initiated into marriage and all of those things. There were a lot of things about my culture that I kind of questioned. And one of the things, well, I'm not going to talk about most of the things, but some of the things really speak to what society sort of expects or wants from a woman, and what you kind of want for yourself. There's a conflicting interest there. And so, and I think that goes across many African communities, many African countries. A lot of women feel this way about parts of their culture. Some parts are really, really great. But then there are other things that women really, really struggle with. So, when I've been, dealing with a couple of things when it comes to, femininity and culture together. And I'd rather reserve my comment about that, because there's some things that, you have to explore a little bit deeper. It's something that I can't just bring up a topic or a statement and we're not able to unpack those things, because they're a little bit delicate. But as it relates to, being a youth, or those who consider themselves, and of us who consider ourselves post that age or post that phase in life, we still find that we have kindred spirits within us. And so the culture that we come with, or that we are born into, we manifest some of those things even when we do grow out of them, or when we do start our own families and things like that. So it's very difficult, I feel, for women in society to totally even though we're in a more progressive world, there are a lot of things that and so, so there's some things in my culture that, luckily, because I'm not in a particular society, like not in Zambia, that I can get away with in South Africa. And I think that's also the beauty of some of the issues, or some of the ways in which we are able to, have this across different continents, through cyberspace. But it also reminds me of my quote that I gave you, Stacey, a quote from Maya Angelou, where she says, "If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be." And for me, I've held on to that quote. I love Maya Angelou. If you go on my Facebook, you would only see Maya Angelou quotes on my cover page, because that I need something to hold on to as a female. I need something to hold on to as a Black woman. I need something to hold on. And for my intellect, so for me, it also reminded me that, what, even as a Black female academic, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be a typical Black female academic. I can be a Delina, whatever that means. So as much as I've been doing whatever I've been doing for 10 years, it doesn't mean I need to do the same thing in the next 10 years. I can do it in my way, with my style, with my flavor. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I don't want to be called female, to be honest with you. Not that I'm anything else, but I really don't want to be labeled anything. I want to be able to label myself as who I want to be labeled. I don't want someone else to give me a title. I don't want someone else to give me a description. I don't want any of that. Thank you, Stacey.
Sure, there's so much power in everything that you just said now. And I noticed that everybody was shaking their heads, everybody that had their cameras on, and I'm gonna ask Janine and Roseanne just to add your thoughts to Adelina. Don't wait for me, ladies. Just if you want to say something, please just jump in.
Yeah, I really related to what Adelina was saying about not being defined. And, you get so many people, and it's usually the people who are closest to you that try to box you in various ways. And, like, transformation and self-discovery is an ongoing journey. So I'm allowed to change. I don't need to be the same person I was a year ago, or 2 weeks ago, and a lot of the time people maybe who aren't allowing maybe themselves to explore their different likes or dislikes, or to make the mistakes, or just to be a bit more open to what life has to offer, which is not always defined as good or bad, but just defined as experience and being human. So yeah, I think I totally relate to what Adeline was saying, and also being in academia and just trying to find my place as a colored woman in this academic institution that is so colonial and so masculine, and even ways of knowing and knowledge that is masculine. And yeah, sort of trying to find your own voice in that space even is difficult. But yeah, I think allowing yourself to surprise yourself is also a good thing, and just being open to surprising yourself instead of you know, boxing yourself. Yeah.
Roseanne, did you
Yeah.
want to add something?
Can I chew on someone else too? Can I say something?
Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to, while Adelina was speaking, I was just thinking about the cultural aspects of what she was mentioning. I think that really, and it's so difficult because one can't say that it keeps you back, because that's the culture. But in so many aspects, women are being, for want of a better word, held back because of cultures. And I don't know whether Adelina could maybe help us to understand, is there something that you can do different? She was saying that because she's in Cape Town, she can live a little bit of a more free from the culture life. And I'm just asking this because today I was with another group of older women, and we were talking about GBV things, but this also came up. We were looking at obviously raising awareness and roots and consequences and so on of gender-based violence, and this male-dominated world that we are living in. It came up constantly, and also that one needs to be very careful because of the cultural issues attached to it. And also, like Janine was saying, as a colored in her world, and everything is just so male dominated. So how do we actually move forward? Because as a group of women, that's what we would like to do. You'd like to have your voice heard, but at the same time, there's the cultural aspect that you must always keep in mind, and what probably been said many, many years ago. And we in 2021, and we still get held back as a result of these cultures. Thank you.
I think I can jump in if I may. Thanks, Roseanne, for for just pinning me on that one, because I can make an example, and I'll make it a vague example. It's not exactly what happened, but it's just an example. I remember once I was traveling with my father, and we're taking a road trip from South Africa all the way to Zambia. Then we happened to be at the border between South Africa and Zambia. And I remember there was something wrong. There was something going off completely wrong inside. And then, some chaps wanted to do some bribery. And then they asked us to open up our car bonnet. And I was thinking, what do they need there? So it was just like delay tactics so that they can be able to ask us for something. And then I said, there's nothing wrong with why does the bonnet have to do with us crossing the border? I spoke up. And I remember the guy looked at me, looked at my father and said, why is she talking? And I was like, because I can. And I didn't even allow my father to speak. And then he looked at my father and looked at me again. And he was looking at me like, who the hell does she think she is? And with me, I was just like, I remembered that, oh, the context now is going to be different. This is what I'm going to have to experience as soon as I cross this border. I'm going to go back into being placed and being silenced. And my father said, yeah, because the guy walked away angrily, and my father said, yeah, it's because you are a, and he said it with a nice accent. He said, because you are a woman. And for me, it again, and I think at the time I was about 16 years old, and I remembered thinking, this is how it's going to happen. This is how it's going to be probably for the rest of my life. This was me thinking that, because often enough we do have to not, this type of dialogue amongst ourselves as women is very inspiring, it's very uplifting, it's very motivating. We're able to speak our minds freely. Suppose half of us were you know, what, perhaps suppose we had male panelists here, the dynamics would be different automatically, and that's just the bottom line. So I remembered feeling that I would have to constantly have to tuck away my intellect, tuck away my ability to be critical, because I'm no longer in a safe environment. And for me to even be safer, it's better to be silent. And I think that is a problematic issue on its own, the fact that I need to be silent to keep myself safe. Because as soon as I speak out, who knows, I could have easily have been slapped. I could have easily just have been pushed to the side, you know. And so these are some of the things that we grapple with. And I think even though we have reached you know, a new era in society where, yes, young people are more vocal, and all of these things, these things still exist, and they will be here for another 100 years to come. It's just one of those things. But I like Roseanne's question, what can we possibly do? And one of the things that we can do is start to have dialogues where men are involved in the dialogues. It's no use we're talking amongst ourselves. And so this is really great. But I think when it comes to some hard knocking issues, men need to be involved in that. We're already dealing with a lot. The youth are dealing with gender-based violence. We're only seeing things that are happening perhaps amongst domestic issues relating to couples. But these things are also happening amongst the youth, where the young people themselves, boyfriends are raping their own girlfriends. And we're not really talking about things like that. And those are the real issues that we also need to talk about.
I feel like there's so much that you can unpack when it comes to your journey of self-discovery, and there's so many elements that play a part in it, and challenges like we've spoken about before, and gender-based violence just being one of them. I'm gonna ask Angel, is she still here? I know she's having some connection issues. Okay, I didn't see her. It would be interesting to get her point of view, just as a student, you know, and with her peers, just about gender-based violence and how that impacts her journey of self-discovery. Maybe we can ask her a little bit later. Culture, yeah, we've touched on culture and femininity and how that impacts your self-discovery journey. And the one thing that sorry, I'm a little distracted. Just want to get some water. Thank you. One of the things that I've actually been dealing with lately is generational trauma and how that's impacted my journey of self-discovery, and I'm very sensitive towards the terminology that's used to describe my generational trauma, and mine is neglect, and somebody referred to it as abandonment earlier today, and I was just like, different thing. But yeah, so you know, Roseanne, we've also had this conversation about generational trauma and how it's impacted our self-discovery journeys coming from two different generations, you know. And as a mother as well, you've witnessed possibly, you know, as a parent, how it kind of your parent style affects or doesn't affect your children. So I'd like your take on generational trauma and how that has impacted your discovery journey.
Well, I really come from a generation where we just got on with things. There was no time in our lives really to take moments of quiet and go and sit somewhere in a corner to understand yourself, or just to be nice to yourself. We did have retreats, but that was more in a religious sense of the word, where a group of women will go away. And even at those retreats, now looking back, I can actually see that those were very good opportunities, missed opportunities, I should add, because again, we didn't all the time made use of, also teaching the self-love and self-care, because we didn't know any different. But even if I come from a generation like that, having worked with different age groups over the years, have really taught me to make time for myself and to unpack, and get rid of all these layers, all these titles and really discover my inner self. So I wouldn't say I fully understood what I was doing. I was always just looking at what is my purpose, trying to find my purpose, but at the same time, obviously having to visit and explore certain parts of my life's journey. I would also have loved to, and I'm still working on that, to write a book on my life's journey, because I feel that there's so many things, and I know that that would also still be helping me on this journey of self-discovery. The other thing that I want to say about self-discovery that I find, and somebody has mentioned it earlier as well, it's not really just a journey from point A to point B, but really evolving. And at different stages of your life, you would obviously experience things differently. My children, I should actually just add, I think has helped me a lot with this journey, just the way, they take on life and so on. I've got a huge gap between my youngest child and my middle child, and often, the middle child, the youngest child, is like an only child, and at this stage of your life, you've got to walk a path with him as well. Total different generation, born free. So you've got to adapt yourself all the time. And you tap into the middle son, and you tap into the eldest daughter, and you understand them from their points of views as well. Talk a little bit to them. My daughter has also recently just, I talked to her a little bit about tonight and this topic of tonight. And she has also given me a little bit of input about her journey of self-discovery that she had to go through. And it was actually quite, it's actually wonderful if you can see how you can connect, two different generations, a mother and a daughter, and the one can still learn from the other one. So that's really quite fantastic for me. The fact that this is a path that I'm walking now with my children as well. And it is fulfilling to me, really. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity actually to be a part of, like, for example, an event of tonight. You were referring earlier about it's almost Youth Day. And although we're not in 1976 and, all of those things that was happening back there, this is just as important. Well, I was one of the 1976 people, really, and look where I am tonight, sitting with all of you that weren't even around back then. So probably some of you. So yeah, no, it is actually, it's quite good for me and wonderful for me to be here, and means a lot to my journey of self-discovery, the one that I'm still on. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for being here. I'm getting a bit emotional just listening to you, Roseanne. Full circle, like, yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. I think everybody's also again touched on living sort of an authentic life and being true to yourself and giving yourself permission, to be yourself fully. And so I had a question. I would like to give it to Joy, just because Joy spoke about it a little bit earlier as well. How do you decide to be your authentic self, or lead a more purposeful life? How, like, what happens? How do you just do it?
Um, I think it's really about tuning in to listening to yourself. I think like it's not like the purpose or the meaning or the connection to yourself is something that you have to reach out there. It's really inside, and it's almost like it's I feel like there's this wise, badass, amazing version of myself that is like in my corner, and when I'm an old lady, like I'll like collide with her, and now I'm like just doing all the things to learn about how to get there. But it's not like she's outside of me, she's in me, she's looking after me, she's the one who's gotten me through the really hard times, who's, you know, like, I don't know, with bad relationships that you just don't leave, you know, eventually there's that line, like she's there drawing that line saying this is the thing. Yes, my inner wise elder. That's who it is. Thanks, Colleen. So yeah, I feel like, I mean, yeah, how do you do it? I guess it's, I mean, with purpose, really asking myself about like what are the things that really make me angry, that I want to change. I think purpose around trying to make change in the world, that's been really helpful. Like, I think, I mean, I've learned so much about myself through trying to do that kind of work. But yeah, there's still so much there's still such a long way to go. And I often am just surprised by when I think I'm, you know, getting somewhere, and then I trip up and it's like, oh yeah, haven't, still paying the school fees for this lesson, need to go like do that again. But it's yeah, it's just a process of continually going deeper and growing.
I love that. I often do a meditation that my coach has guided me through as well. But that was to see my younger self, and what was the message that she gave me, and was to encourage and support, you know, present Stacey. And I'm constantly trying to do that. But like we've mentioned before, the challenges, you know, societal expectations, etc., always kind of getting in the way. But I'm determined, and I'm in the process of becoming my higher self. Yeah, I just actually wanted to share Annaline's comment that was in the chat box. She says, to me, I currently left a job behind that has taken up a lot of my time, and it was comfortable and safe for me. As contrasting as it sounds, the journey of self-discovery has actually been not knowing and having the answers and being okay with that. Self-discovery sounds like something you should find, but for me currently it came with losing my comfort space and not knowing what next. That's amazing. That's so cool. The unknown, right? Sometimes it can be quite daunting, and we are scared, we are fearful, not knowing what to expect. And I think I'm similar to that though. Like, I'm a bit impulsive, like I make crazy decisions and hope that it will lead me in the right direction. And then when it does, I'm like, I'm so grateful to be there. Yeah. Janine, any crazy decisions that you've made lately? That's oh, Angel, yeah.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Based on the comment, I just want to share my story. So before I was studying what I am studying now, I was studying fashion. I was doing a degree in fashion. And in the midst of it, I realized that it was not for me. And growing up, it was one thing that I always wanted to do. I've said from the beginning that I wanted to be a fashion designer, and I saw myself as this big household name within the fashion industry. And when I got into the fashion institution, I no longer felt as connected as I thought I would. And I think for me, that was a big step, because I mean, we are told it's difficult. It's difficult to just step out of something, especially when your whole life you thought, you know, that's exactly what you wanted to do. And so it kind of left me in a space of not knowing and just trying to figure out where I have to go next. And I then shifted into the English and communication that I do now, wanting to venture out into the fashion journalism, and I realized, that there are many avenues to different things. So I know it can be uncomfortable being in a position where you have always known that that's where you want to be, and then suddenly you feel that that's not where you want to be, and that can be in a confusing period. And I think as a student, it happens to most of us, where we have taken one course and we get there and that's not what we want to do, and we have to go through our parents and our family. Obviously, there's money involved, and obviously emotions and time. So I know how difficult that can be, but it's all part of the self-discovery journey. That's everyone's journey. I've learned not to compare my journey to anyone else's, because at the end of the day, we're all going through our struggles. So just focus on your own lane. And we could all be going through different paths, but end up in one end goal. So yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Angel. I'm yet to meet somebody that has left high school and studied something that they ended up doing right until they died or retired. There's just so much life has to offer, and it's all about creating those opportunities for yourself and doing that self-discovery and asking yourself, why do I like this? What is it that I want to do? And creating opportunities for yourself. Janine.
Is that still the... Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's
No, creating opportunities for yourself. Talk to me.
creating opportunities for yourself. Before, I thought I had a lot of control over creating opportunities for myself. And that was up until recently, when I realized that the more you just surrender to whatever the universe has in store for you, because you don't even know, you can't comprehend, your mind fools you into thinking you have control when actually you just have anxiety most of the time. So in surrendering and trusting the universe, opportunities have been coming. And and one opportunity that I'm very grateful for is my job and my team that I work in, and working with students. And Angel, is so what you're saying, like, how can you even know what you want when you're 18, 19, 20? So a lot of also what I try to preach is that you don't have to know exactly how your life is going to go, but we all know how it is at that stage where you think you either should know or you think you do know. So surrendering and trusting in the universe that it has my highest good at heart is probably the best thing that I did in the past few years, after initially trusting that leaving my marriage was the right decision, which didn't seem like 100% right at the time, but just like trusting my intuition and trusting that my feelings, actually, because a lot of the time we try to suppress our feelings, or we try to ignore it or whatever, but just trusting yourself, I think, is a big step in that self-discovery journey as well.
Trusting yourself and not suppressing your feelings. Yeah. Allowing yourself to feel and giving yourself permission to feel those feelings. And then also giving yourself permission to create boundaries. I think that's a huge one. Especially as women, we want to give more than what we take. And so how do we find that balance? And so my question to you, I would like everyone to answer this question, because I'm still learning, and I want to know, how do you ensure that you have enough in your cup so that you can pour into others? Because this is something that I'm personally struggling with. And, I go into dips where I'm okay, and then I'm not okay, and then I'm giving all the time, So I'd like to pose that question to all the panelists. If I mean, anybody go.
Okay, I will go. I can recall watching, I think it was ENCA at some point, and I get a lot of, when I watch the news, sometimes I get a lot of messages for myself. And so I remember there was this one minister who was being interviewed, and she was not answering the question. And then she ended up telling the journalist, "Protect me from yourself." And then I remember the journalist was very confused. And then she's saying, protect me from yourself, please protect me from yourself. And, I thought about that phrase, because it sounded very, very weird and very strange, but it made sense in a way, because she was saying to the journalist, please, don't ask me anything more, because I don't want to lie or I don't want to say anything that's going to expose me. And she just didn't want to answer the question. And then I also started to think about that phrase that she said, protect me from yourself. And I realized that sometimes we need to tell ourselves, please, this is enough now. We need the boundaries. You need to tell yourself, you know what, I can't do this. I need to say no. So I think, sometimes we provoke ourselves. We do things, we commit to things that we know we don't even want to be involved in the first place. Then we get irritated along the way, and then we get tired along the way. So I think sometimes as women, we have to really start thinking and being a bit more selfish. And that is one of the things that we're not taught to do. We are taught to get married, have kids when other people want us to, endure in those relationships, because everybody says it's you must endure. But we never ever think about, what, how can I sustain myself? How can I make sure that I do not overpour to such a point, or to an extreme that I feel empty, I feel dry, and I feel exhausted? Because I think if we look at our, the females in our social networks, in our circles, women are exhausted. Women are exhausted. Women are tired. Men too, yes. But women, there are a lot more things that we have to do. Very, very tired, very, very exhausted. And it's not the typical tired of because I've done just a lot of things, but it's also the mental part, the emotional, the psychology, the psychological part, the nurturing part. All of that is a lot. And so we have to at some point say, you know what, I'm going to be selfish. And selfish just means, you know what, I'm just going to take time out, or I'm just going to not say yes all the time. Or if I say yes, I must think about how does this link to whether it's my career path, my personal growth, my, well-being, and all those things. So I've started doing that, and I've realized that I'm actually much happier. I'm mentally more stable. I remember Joy earlier was saying something about, by the time she becomes an older lady, she's going to have all these, she's going to be like crazy, and but she'll be happy because you are more free. You know that what you're doing it for yourself, and when you make mistakes, I've made a mistake and I'm going to grow. And so I'm actually at that point where I want to feel that way. I want to feel that whatever I do, I must benefit. Even the bad things that I do, I must benefit in a way that makes it it must be constructive. It must have been self-destructive. And so that's all I can say on that one.
Yeah, I feel I can add to what Adelina was saying about, because it is actually true, hey, that life expects of us to get married and have a career and have all the children. You're not even married a year or two, and then people start asking you, when is the children coming? And when you have the one, then they want to know, when is the next one coming? And that's kind of like all expected from us, But I also think that I could probably speak for also, again, for my generation, and probably it's getting better, that men actually helps. So that is something that you, at the beginning, must make sure that your husband helps you within the house and the sharing of the kids. And I must actually really say, I can say that in all honesty tonight, that is what my life looked like. I always said that I was responsible for the children's social life, and my husband was responsible for the school life, because he obviously he was the teacher. So that worked very well. But over weekends, I'm the one that must see that they get to wherever the swimming lessons and the this and the that. So it actually worked quite well. But Stacey, also referring to the way that you phrase the question about what can you do and the boundaries and all of that. I also think that most of the things you probably do already, you go for walks, the reading, the journaling, the meditation. Those are all things that you can do to ensure that you are fulfilled and your cup is not empty. The other thing that I think that we often also lose sight of is surround yourself with friends that that energizes you. Often you spend that little bit of free time that you have with people that also drains you, which is not great. Then you're more tired than not when you walk away from that coffee day or that weekend away, or and then you need to really take a step back and make sure that the people that energizes you, those are the people that really you should be with, you should be socializing with. So yeah, from my part. And then of course, if you can, the pedis and the manis and all of those relaxation therapies, those are also things that can actually just ensure that you are not as drained and as tired as you might feel whenever you are busy with juggling studies and relationships and, flying back and forth between Hungary and South Africa or wherever you have to fly to. That's just a little bit from me.
Thank you. Angel, what do you do? Tell me, what do you do?
I think your question was, how do you feel most authentic? And I feel most authentic when I'm in a space where I can share my feelings. I'm someone that's hyper aware of things that are around me, and I tend to feel a lot. And so when I'm in a space where I can actually feel at ease and completely myself with sharing without being labeled emotional, because most of the time females are labeled as emotional when we share our feelings. So I'm someone that feels like I don't have, it just feels like, bricks have been lifted off my shoulders when I can share, whether it be my boundaries or just overall communicating things I like and things I don't like. But if I'm in a space where I can just fully express myself without being judged, I think that's when I feel most authentic.
Thanks, Angel. I think also just around making sure that you have enough in your cup. Often I feel like I have enough in my cup to point to others, but I'm sort of misled. And then I have a conversation with somebody, and then I realize, you know what? Actually, I don't have capacity. And so, when is it okay to give yourself permission to say no to somebody else? Janine, Joy.
I think that's when listening to yourself comes in, and I mean boundaries as well and all of that. I had that problem for a long time, I think most of my life, and it sort of played out as just me being a very social person, or me doing a lot of things and being busy or friendly, but very recently, boundaries, the importance of boundaries, oh my gosh, and just energetic boundaries even. And again, it's that trust in yourself, trust that you actually, before now, one of the mantras that I use is I pause before I do. So now, before I used to be very quick and aggressive and controlling, and now I just try to pause and you know, yay, Janine, just like cool it and just think before you actually. And sometimes it takes me like maybe a day or two to reply to an email because I really feel like I need to think through it. Whereas, you know, you always think there are these expectations on your time, and we need to claim back our time. We need to claim back our labor. And as women as well, whether it's emotional labor, physical labor, intellectual labor, as women, we've been so used to these cultural expectations of diminishing the power and the value of our time that we need to reclaim it. And we need to come, it's time now. We need to rule the world. We need to heal and reclaim our power. So yeah, and part of that for me has just been forgiveness. And when I say forgiveness, I mean forgiving myself and just, and it's an emotional thing and it's a difficult thing, but just to finally say that I'm not allowing myself to feel guilty or shameful or for things that I did in the past. And yeah, it's still emotional, and it's still a lot of the things is yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's just something you sort of have to come to in your own time as well. So really taking ownership of your own journey rather than letting the outside dictate it to you. Yeah.
Thanks, Janine. I like that. Take ownership. Yeah. Hold yourself accountable. And for that, definitely. Before I ask you to leave us with a message for any young South African woman regarding their self-discovery journey, I actually want to ask the floor. If anybody has any questions, you can feel free to unmute your mic. Colleen, I feel like you might have a question. No? Or a comment, actually. Shamal says, in my journey of self-discovery, I learned that I am an empath. I never understood myself, but now that I do, I know what drains my energy. Before, my cup was emptied easily. Being more self-aware, I now recognize when I need to initiate my boundaries to fill my cup and without feeling guilty about it. Sure. Shamal, can you move in with me, please? Can you teach me? Because I'm an empath too. I find it hard just to find that balance. Nobody has questions or comments. Okay, well, then your final messages, please, panelists. We can do it in alphabetical order or not, or whoever wants to go first. Angel, maybe you'd like to start. What is your message to young South African women regarding their self-discovery journey?
So this is this is something that I touched on, was not comparing your journey to anyone else's. Has been the biggest one for me. And also asking yourself the necessary questions, evaluating your skills, and writing them down, creating a vision board for your life. As well as it's important to really explore your passions. That way you get to know self, and the relationship with self is very important for the other relationships that you're going to have as well.
Thank you, Angel. Janine. Not enough.
I feel like I'm being called on all the time. I wrote a few points down, but now I feel like none of them are relevant. Just be in the present moment. I feel like right now I'm so blessed to be in this space with these beautiful women and with everyone joined in, and just to be fully present. Often when we're young, especially, I think we're always looking towards the future. It's going to be this future, I'll have this, and the future comes as the present, as Eckhart Tolle says. You always have to be in the present, be in the now, and do your best now, but also just enjoy life. and appreciate everything. And the more grateful you are, the more you will receive. And trust yourself. I think that's the main thing. Just trust yourself. Because again, as women, I think we don't trust ourselves enough. So yeah, and you are divine. You are divine by design. You're beautiful. Believe that. And that's all I don't know, say. Nothing that I wrote down, by the way.
Amazing. Thank you. Roseanne, I see your mic's off.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that one often hear that people, embark on a journey of self-discovery or finding their purpose when something has happened there's a trigger, something has happened in their lives, and that's normally an adverse event. And I think for younger ladies, do not wait for this to happen. Just really go on a journey to discover yourself, because then you will become aware of your true potential, got your life ahead of you, and you can actually work towards that. That's all from me. Thanks, Daisy.
Thank you. Joy?
I think when it comes to filling your cup, we really shouldn't feel selfish. I've learned from having burnout and definitely emptying my cup way too much and suffering with the consequences of that, how important filling your cup is, and how it's actually not a selfish act. It's what you're doing for everybody in your life. So the more I fill my cup, the better mom I am, the better colleague I am, the better friend I am. So it's really everyone else that benefits from the things of filling our cup. And I think that's something that's really underrated. I guess my advice to young women is honestly just to have more fun. I think that fun and pleasure really help you connect with who you are. When you're feeling that like gleeful, happy, wonderful feeling, that's you. And so yeah, exactly. And dance, as Janine says. So yeah, so that's my parting advice, is to have fun.
Okay, I think it's my turn to jump in since I've been avoiding the whole thing. So I don't have a message for South African women, regarding their self-discovery. In fact, I found a quote this morning that I kind of held on to for the rest of the day. I'm a wisdom seeker, so I found a nice quote that goes, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." So if I had to quickly interpret that, I realized for me that the more I know myself, the more I try to know myself, the more I try to understand myself, I have more confidence in who I am and what I can give to others about myself. So I think that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tonight, everyone. This was such a powerful conversation, and I'm sure our viewers on Facebook, our Skills Exchange members, and everybody within the Zoom call feels exactly the same way that I do. I'm so excited to actually take away some of the learnings that I've learned tonight, and I hope that we've encouraged other women to do exactly the same. I wish you all an amazing Youth Day. Just remember to take a moment of silence just to commemorate the day in whichever way you feel best. And yeah, I look forward to seeing everyone again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Stacey.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ladies.
Stacey.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.